I'm Kaylin Adams, and this will be my last and final attempt to do this video. Psh, psh, take 58. This is over my summary and analysis of Marcus Miller, um, and we go with the New Craig 2018 chapters 11 and 9 on both reality therapy and then rational emotive behavioral therapy. And so let's get into it, shall we? Um, so one thing that I want to point out that I thought was very interesting was, in fact, the very first question that we're kind of posed to go through is like how to build that relationship, and then also go into those core tenets. And I actually think if you utilize the core tenets for reality therapy and you start with those, it actually almost automatically will set you up. Um, so that recognizing that need for like quality relationships are important relationships to us, I think is very important. And we note that in the love and belonging section. But then when we say it in order, it's like survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, fun. And it's like always said in that way. And it makes me wonder sometimes if people think that, you know, they gravitate towards fun is at the end. I don't know if it's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs situation, um, but it does state in the book very clearly that, if you have love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun, then you're more likely to survive. And so for me, instead of thinking of them in the order that they're technically usually listed, almost every article that I read had them in almost the same order. Instead of doing that, maybe if we flipped it a little bit, it would help with, the therapist bond, with their individual. And for me, that's easy because I pretty much just laugh at everything. And so I feel like me as a therapist, creating that bond using fun and humor is probably going to be the best way to go. I also think that laughing kind of just sets everybody at ease a little bit, as well as you're seen as more human. You make mistakes, you learn, you grow, you laugh. Um, you could have dark, twisty humor, you could have sarcastic humor, and it's okay to even laugh at ourselves sometimes and not take everything so seriously. I also think that is also, almost an anchor at times when you're going too far or you're having those irrational thoughts. You have that anchor to pull you back. Like, at the end of the day, is this life or death? Is this going to cause my survival to cease? Um, and so I think just I would naturally utilize those while getting to know the individual, but then also just kind of take it step by step. Like, so, so this is what's happening in your life. Where are we going to work in some fun? Where can we work in some freedom? Where can we give you an access point to feel power or accomplishment? And then how can we work on your relationships to make sure you feel love and belonging? Um, as far as survival, he may not be living in the cleanest apartment, but he's eating. Shriveled Pizza says he's eating. So we know he has that. We know he has shelter. So some of those basic needs are actually being met. Um, and so the want and desire to clean your house or to do things like that, I think, would come when we utilize the other kind of core tenants. Um, if I was going to continue with Marcus after that, after, you know, utilizing those basics and then continue on with him, um, using the WDEP, so the wants, doing, direction, evaluating if what you're doing is successful or a plan. Um, I really would want to focus on his primary relationship with his partner. Um, whereas him and his sister, it seems, have always been close and she's always been a caretaker. He is acknowledging that that has now moved over to his partner Rob, and actually has the opposite effect. Angela likes to be involved, likes to caretake, whereas Rob doesn't, and it might be pushing him away, which could be part of why he took the job, but also wanting to, touch with him on like his own control issues. So we're going to have to go into the internal control or external control, because he is very much external, where it's his fault he left, and how could he leave if he loved him and he would never do such a thing. This almost black and white of, instead of supporting and loving and showing those like care acts, he's showing the opposite of those care acts, that the love, the support, the understanding, he's not giving those. um, And so really wanting to know, like, what is it that you want from this relationship? Is it just because you want to feel valid and loved? Okay, well, what are you doing that's, making that better? What are you doing to help validate those feelings? Or is what you're doing actually, um, pushing your partner away, which he already admits that it does have a factor and it plays a role in his partner, maybe pushing him away or being more standoffish. So he already is recognizing the fact that what he is doing is not working. So because he can self-identify, I think that's a great area for us to be able to hone in and be like, okay, you've already defined what you want, what you're doing. You've evaluated it doesn't work. So let's make a plan on what we can do and how to change that into something you want and then what you can do. So, get some of that independence. Don't rely so heavily on your partner. Making sure that we are kind of trying to control those internalized, um, those external control, but internalized feelings that are kind of becoming irrational at this point. Um, where it's he doesn't love me, he left for his job, he's gonna be gone for his job, he's been gone 1 month, there's 5 left to go, I can't do anything, it's his fault I can't write, it's his fault I can't think, it's because he doesn't. It's this giant snowball that he's just allowed to really like take over in his brain. And really countering that with, you want to heal the relationship, so let's do it this way. But then also noting that he verbalizes that he sometimes allows like his sister to do things for him because she's a caregiver. And even though it feels like he loses power in that way, he feels like he's giving some of that for his sister because that's something she desires. And so he acknowledged that they're two very different relationships, but his behaviors are the same and they don't have the same outcome. And so, in order to help that gain that independence on behalf of their primary relationships, which I would say is your intimate relationship, I would want to really go over his wants for what he has that relationship with his sister. How does he want that to look like? Does he want to gain more power in that situation and have some basic achievement steps where he could do like boundary setting? Um, perhaps not making appointments without his knowledge. Maybe that's a good boundary for somebody with mental health issues. I don't know. All right. Their relationship is their own. But I do think boundaries are important, and if my sister showed up at my door, it might be she might need to back up out the door. So, making sure that he's doing things for himself because he wants to do them for himself out of independence, but also he's acknowledging that now he's reliant on those pushes from his sister, pushes from his boyfriend, pushes from his counselor. And so getting him to do some things independently without the nudging or the prompting, and kind of back out of those, I think is a really good goal. Like make him write a goal list of 5, but don't encourage him to finish it. Let him finish it on his own without any more prompts other than the list itself to see how far he's going to go and really push himself to have that like independence and that success rate. Um, as far as diversity goes with Marcus, I think there's quite a few things that need to be taken into consideration. One, his sexuality, his ethnicity, his adoption. Um, those are all big. Even if we go all the way back to the beginning, he's also a middle child. Um, Middle children have their own syndromes, right? Um, and so it's just one of those. I feel like if I was talking to him, it'd be cool because I'd be like, hey, we're family. There's code languages. Whereas, I'm never going to be able to necessarily know, I don't know what it's like to be an African American man. I just won't ever know that. However, I can be open to understanding and accepting him as he is. Um, Now, if I was going to use rational emotive behavioral therapy, I think the biggest difference, like the kind of key there, um, is really like the difference of focusing on the emotional reactions versus the choices we're going to make, the internalized feelings versus the actions we're going to take, the way their irrational thoughts are taking over versus our plan to help minimize some of those irrational thoughts and how to get our needs met versus how we're going to control our kind of way of thinking, and making sure, um, for me, when using the REBT, I think it's going to really relate rely heavily on that disputing his way of thinking, really breaking those down so we can break through those irrational thoughts and then offer the rational alternative framework. And so breaking down for him, um, like that awfulness feeling, like that awful, he left, he doesn't love me. Well, let's talk about that. Just because somebody leaves for work doesn't really mean they don't love you, or doesn't mean right now they value their career, or they're trying to maintain monetary values because you're not working anymore because you quit your job and you're a PhD student. So now financially, the responsibility is on this person. And trying to give him those very different perspectives, and really breaking down why he has those irrational thoughts. Um, I think those would be my two kind of major things, is really just going through it, utilizing those A, B, C, D, E, Fs, just the whole alphabet, the whole thing, and really kind of just breaking that down. Like, what is his antecedent? What happened? His boyfriend leaving. What behaviors is he doing now? What are the consequences of those behaviors? Not writing his papers. His house is not getting clean. People are getting worried. And just keep going until we break down each one of those irrational thoughts that is leading to irrational behaviors. And I am over my 10 minutes and I apologize. So if we minimize and take off all the times that I said, we'll be under 10 minutes. I can't afford to do this again because I have to turn it in. So thank you.